Once again, thank you very much for coming to Agile Middle East 2019. We have Ade Shokoya, all the way from Lagos, London, England.
There you go. Yeah, we've moved Lagos into London nowadays because it just
It
makes
pretty
sense,
much is,
especially
yeah.
with Brexit, right? It's like everything's up for grabs.
Everything's up for grabs.
There you go.
Could Brexit be more agile?
Well, that's a good question, but the problem is I don't know what Brexit is. So,
Yeah, and who does?
yeah, there you go. So,
So it can't
could
be because we need proper goals.
Well,
and
you could argue
settings.
that actually it falls in the VUCA kind of thing. So the unknown. So yeah, I don't know what it is yet. Ask me in a few weeks' time, and I might be able to answer that question.
Yeah, which is where it's moving. But I suppose the whole VUCA thing is volatile, unflexible, complex, ambiguous.
Yep.
And a great leadership would be able to maximize the VUCA for the benefit of its customers.
Ideally.
Right, ideally. So moving politics aside,
Yep.
how would you say the main differences are, or how would you differentiate between agile mindset, so what is agile mindset, to agile best practices, frameworks, and so on and so forth?
Okay, I think that's a good question, and I can give my views around it. The mindset is that if we look at agility as ability to respond to change, if we look at the fact that actually we're talking about VUCA and we're talking about everybody's context may be different. So for me, the agile mindset is being able to internalize the values and principles to change the way that we think and behave, and thereby, depending on the context that we're in, we're able to draw on those values and principles. It's a bit like that Shuhara East, right?
Yes.
At the beginning, we just start by doing the basics. At the middle part, we start kind of making some changes and seeing what the impact is. And then in the final stage, we actually do respond without necessarily really thinking. It's just become just the way that we are. I think when you're in the agile mindset, it enables you to be able to, in different contexts, different organizations, and still see the patterns and be able to respond. The whole thing about the practices, to me, that's just a manifestation of something. Before I used to believe that it's a manifestation of the mindset, but I've got enough experience now to recognize that lots of organizations are doing the practices, the shiny stuff, but nothing's changing culturally, nothing's changing leadership style, nothing's changing mindset and behaviors. It's just the shiny stuff.
Tick box.
There you go. And also I have this whole view about best practice. For me, it's even the whole concept of best practice is what is best practice outside of its context. Here are some possible practices. Some of them may work better within your context. However, because I see lots of people blindly following the kind of best practice without taking in consideration your context, your system. Bearing in mind, a lot of this exists within a complex adaptive system that's responding and changing. It's like, well, there you go.
I suppose the whole thing can't work because the self-organizing team is a team that's working its way through a VUCA mess. So by being a tick box, by following, no wonder these things fail.
Correct.
Because it's just lip service to the process.
Correct. And then, you see things like the copy and paste kind of agile transformation where they did it over there, so we can just do exactly the same thing here.
Have you ever seen that video on Spotify? Spotify Way?
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
I'll send it to you afterwards.
Thanks.
It's
Yeah, that's
fantastic.
it.
It's
There
really
you go.
good.
It's
It sums
like,
it all up.
There you go. There you go. It's that whole thing.
And coming back to mindset, just one last thing. Often we talk about mindset, agility, speed. What about the whole concept of the customer? Where does that enter the discussion when we talk about agile mindset? How core is understanding the customer to the mindset?
To me, that's fundamental.
Yeah.
Because if we're looking at agility, whether it's strategic, operational, business agility, for the most part, organizations are looking for ways to increase market share, profitability, reduce risk, whatever. Fundamentally, if you operate in a customer-based market, which most organizations do, then you're relying on your income or whatever it is to come from your customers. So it makes sense to be able to align what you're delivering to customers. I think the time has changed whereby back in the old days, it's like you would go somewhere, product, service, and whatever you're given, you're given.
Yep.
And in fact, actually, there'd be some organizations be like, well, that's it, mate.
Yep.
There you go. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Times have changed.
You can have a Ford as long as it's black.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? But times have changed now. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not loyal to a brand. I am looking for outcomes. I'm looking for value. Whoever can provide me the value, be that cost, time, quality, combination of them, whatever.
So as an organization, I need to understand your perception of value. And if it fits into what I do, then I deliver, right?
Yeah, or that's another opportunity there, because if you think about it, that's the whole pivot thing. If I have a concept of what I think is value, but I have a conversation with you that tells me, actually, here's what's valuable to you, I have the opportunity now to pivot and create something innovative, and respond to what you need.
Great, nice one. And when we're talking about organizations, and we talk about layers, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a great colleague of mine, 10,000 people in his company, 3 layers. Each VP has 700 direct reports.
Okay.
And when I said, how do you manage? He goes, why would I want to manage?
Okay.
The permafrost, it's often known as this middle layer.
Yep.
How do you transcend the layers in a company? Even if you haven't got layers, you have that sort of mentality of I'm more important than you, that sort of tribal way that humans have always grown up. Yeah? It's always important to progress going up and up the food chain. So how do you transcend all that when you're doing an agile transformation? Do you need to even transcend that?
I guess it depends on what an organization is trying to achieve. Obviously, we recognize context again. Context is always key, right? We recognize that flat structures that kind of self-form themselves can respond to change better. But for whatever reason, in some organizations, you may still want to have the hierarchy. And I think the key really here, and this is where I bring it back, and this is something I talk about in my book as well, where I bring it back and say, take away the whole agile stuff, take away everything else, just bring it back to human beings, right? At different levels, we need to communicate differently. So CEO is going to be interested in something different than what the middle management is, and maybe those on operational level. And so I think we need to talk to each one of their pain points, the benefits that they need, and align Agile with that. For years, we've been talking about the frozen middle. And then for me, it's like, well, in the new world, they feel like they've got the most to lose. Self-organizing teams. So I don't manage nobody no more. Teams are figuring it out themselves. So what does that mean to me? And you've got product owners and scrum masters. Okay. And if we look at it from a human being point of view, it's like, well, you're introducing change which is threatening to me. My house, my marriage. Hey, actually, you know what? My position in my family, you know, my wife doesn't listen to me, my husband doesn't listen to me, but the only place I get to actually feel or any work is at work. And you're not taking all that away from me. Fundamentally, human beings will respond to that. So I think we need to support them more on the journey, be much more clear where they fit in, and help them to make that transition. And typically, I think over time, as an organization starts seeing the benefit, maybe run some small experiments to show how actually, you know, in the new world, by giving power, you gain more power. So you could still keep that same equilibrium. However, it's just a different dynamic.
I don't know why, you just remind me of an economist of the 1800s, Keynes or something. He said something great. The problem with change is not managing where we're going, it's understanding what we're letting go of.
Exactly.
Yeah, and quite often, Agile, we talk about the future, we talk about the future. Maybe, like you're suggesting, I think, we should also spend a lot more time on helping these people understand what we're going to give up.
Exactly.
And then what we're going to gain.
And that's an interesting point. If you think about it, in Kanban, Lean, we talk about meet people, start where you are.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, like you said, we go and it's like, oh, no, and here's where you need to go. But great, no, that's where I need to go. But, you know, meet me where I'm at.
Yeah.
Take me on the journey so that I can get there. And actually, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I have like a far place to walk to, I might be like, oh my gosh, it's going to take ages. And then when I get back and look back, whoa, wow, look how far I've covered. And I think that might be part of the journey.
I suppose that's the other thing with small iterative steps.
There you go.
Okay, let's just walk to the end of that block, then next block, then next block, and then you're there.
There you go, exactly.
Cool. Last question. Agile's becoming more and more a big buzzword, right? The consultants are on it, everyone's on it, it's the bandwagon, it's like innovation. It's like, ooh,
it's the
exactly,
money, right?
It's the money, right? Yeah. So we'll probably need innovation centers, we now need agile centers, blah, blah, blah. The world of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
As it enters now mainstream here into the Middle East, we've been doing this now for 5 years.
Right, okay.
It's now for the first time more and more on everyone's tongue.
Yep.
What would be the one thing, just the one thing, you would say to anyone who's considering Agile, whether it's a CEO, whether it's a CIO, whoever, to always remember as their point of reference in their journey, so they don't lose sight and end up in fake Agile or complete disaster and hating Agile?
I think the one thing would be inspect and adapt. Is to understand that, especially in a new environment, who might not been used to this way of working, that they're going to have to try small things because they don't want to break the whole.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about the UAE or the Middle East, but I'm assuming there are going to be some cultural differences to what one might see in the West. So they've got to factor all those in. So I'd say inspect and adapt. Small steps, try something. It may or may not work, and just roll it back and then adapt it. That would be the key thing. I think that would stop them getting
And always bear in mind the principles, otherwise we can end up.
It's got to be driven, and it goes back to the whole thing. If they can focus on the principles and the values, learn that. It's like I say to lots of people, even if you don't learn any of the practice or anything else, that's fine. If you can
Cool.
internalize the principles and values, really internalize them, then I think that would take them a lot further.
Brilliant. Shokran, as they say here.
Shukran. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.